Well, the European Union's chief Brexit negotiator has told EU ministers meeting in Brussels there's still no agreement with the UK on its withdrawal, jeopardising plans for a special summit later this month to finalise a deal. Michel Barnier said negotiating efforts have intensified, but if there's no deal this month, officials fear there won't be enough time for the UK Parliament and the EU to sign off on it. The British Prime Minister Theresa May faces increasing pressure at home over her proposals following the resignation of another government minister last week. It's understood the main obstacle to a deal remains how to keep goods flowing smoothly across the border between EU member Ireland and Northern Ireland in the UK.
We are working hard for a deal. Everybody is straining every sinew to make sure that we get a deal, but we have to get a deal that's right for the UK, right for the EU, and one that will be acceptable to the UK Parliament.
The support and the solidarity for Michel Barnier and his negotiating team is stronger now than it's ever been. Clearly this is a very important week for Brexit negotiations. The two negotiating teams have really intensified their engagement.
And Vicky Pryce joins me now from London. She's a board member at the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Good to have you back on the program, Vicky. Can I start with an article that's appeared in the Financial Times suggesting that the main elements of a Brexit deal are ready to be presented to the UK Cabinet as early as tomorrow, Tuesday. Do you think that a breakthrough is on the horizon here?
It's possible that the actual negotiators have come very close to a deal, but of course the most important thing is what happens when that deal comes to the Parliament. And do remember, it's not really a deal, even though we're talking about this. What is at stake right now is whether we can sign a withdrawal agreement. The withdrawal agreement was more or less outlined a year ago. It covers the divorce bill, it covers the treatment of EU residents in the UK, or people who live here, not necessarily having become formerly UK residents. And of course it should cover something about the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland itself. And that's the real issue. So it hasn't got much to do with any trade agreement, which will have to be negotiated later. Nevertheless, the elements that are really important in order to achieve this withdrawal agreement have to also satisfy the Northern Ireland border issue. And for that to be satisfied, there is an element of trading arrangements that need to creep into this. In particular, what is being discussed right now is whether Northern Ireland itself stays in the customs union and the single market effectively as a backstop should there not be any other agreement reached while we have the negotiations over the next couple of years during the transition period, or whether in fact it's safer if the whole of the UK stays in a customs union and also obeys regulatory stipulations from the EU, which of course will then mean no need for the border, certainly not in the short term, and quite likely not in the longer term if that becomes a permanent solution rather than a temporary one. Not everyone agrees that this should happen. Lots of Brexiteers are very angry about this. Some of the Remainers are saying, well, why don't we just stay in the EU anyway, since it's more or less where we are now and we're not going to be able to influence anything in the future. So it's a very, very important week.
Yes, and there does seem to be a lot of urgency because it seems that a lot of people are keen to push the draft text of this withdrawal agreement, as you've pointed out, so that a special summit that's due to take place later this month can actually take place itself, so that Brexit will be one step closer. Do you believe that Irish border issue can be solved? And I'm wondering, from your point of view, what is the realistic solution to that issue?
I'm afraid the realistic solution is that the whole of the UK stays in the customs union and of course the single market for a long period, so that whatever trading agreements we have in the end will more or less allow for that to be the case. That's not easy to negotiate that, of course, because it comes with a price, and there would be all sorts of expectations of what the UK should be doing, including freedom of movement of people, so more or less where we are now. Lots of people are not going to allow that to happen when it comes to a vote in the UK Parliament. And that's a big, big issue. The Cabinet seems to be divided. The Tory party seems to be divided. The Labour Party doesn't seem to quite have a position in this. There's only one party that definitely wants to stay in the EU and wants a referendum, and that is the Liberal Democrats. But the calls for a referendum are increasing as being the only way we can get through that impasse that we're finding ourselves in right now.
And as we know, both leaders of both of the major parties, the Conservatives and Labour, say they're actually opposing the idea of another vote, but we've seen thousands of people take to the streets calling for one, and divisions within the Labour Party itself calling for another vote. Do you think that's a real possibility?
We need time for another vote, so people are already beginning to talk about if we have no real agreement by early January, we might have to ask for an extension of Article 50 or even withdraw it, which is the letter that we sent to the EU to say that we wanted to leave in 2 years' time when it was first sent. Well, we've got very few months left to March, the end of March, which is the official time we're supposed to be leaving. Well, if we can't get things through and we can't get any agreement, then we may have to have a general election, we may have to have a referendum, but you need time. If we don't have that time, then I don't see what the solution would be. So that's why everyone is so perplexed right now and doesn't really know what will happen tomorrow, let alone in a few months' time.
That's right. Okay. Vicky Pryce in London, thank you for your time as always.